Thanks for tuning in to the Better Business Podcast, where down-to-earth entrepreneurs like you and me get to share what it's like running their own business. If you'd like to get involved, listen in at the end of this episode to find out how. So let's hear from today's guest. Hello and welcome to the Better Business Podcast, where I talk to business owners about the highs and the lows, the pitfalls and successes, the agony and the ecstasy of running a business. My name's Justin Challoner, and with me today is Carl Postians from Capo Digital Accounting. And we're going to be finding out all about what he does and how he runs his business. So hi, Carl. How are you doing? How's your week been?
Really good. Excited about this podcast. So yeah, all's good.
Great stuff. So let's get started. I think we'll begin really just by finding out a bit about you. So can you tell the audience about your business and about what you do?
Okay, so my name's Carl Postians. I'm the owner of Capo Digital Accounting, which is an accountancy practice we based in Blackwood in South Wales. We mainly work with small and medium-sized businesses, particularly in construction and trade sectors. My route into accounting was probably different from most people. I left school at 16, joined the Royal Navy. I served in the Royal Navy for 24 years. I think that experience kind of gave me a lot of discipline and resilience, but also real appreciation of teamwork, responsibility, and just structure. Then after leaving the Navy, I moved into accounting and finance and eventually worked for Costain as a project accountant. Costain was at the time one of the UK's, one of the top five civil engineering companies. So I got some really valuable experience working on large sort of infrastructure and construction projects. I was mainly based in South Wales. That role, I suppose, gave me a real insight into how construction businesses operate and the pressures they face day to day, especially around things like cash flow.
Mm.
I'm sure anybody out there in the construction business knows that delays in getting paid by a main contractor or by suppliers can really sort of create huge pressures further down the supply chain. So
Mm.
I saw how important forecasting and planning ahead really are in that environment. Um, and working in that environment also exposed me to sustainability
Mm.
and carbon accounting long before most small businesses were talking about it. I mean, we're talking back here now in the early 2000s, 2006, 2007.
Yeah.
Large construction companies were already focusing heavily on environmental reporting at that time, and all the supply chain standards as well. And
Mm.
I could see early how eventually how important it was going to be for smaller businesses, especially when they're bidding for contracts.
Yeah.
Um, then eventually I decided to start Capo my practice, Capo Accounting, because I wanted to work more closely with business owners and help bring some of those the larger business system, all the business systems that I was working with in Costain, and the ways of thinking into bring all that into the SME world, but
Mm.
in a more sort of practical and easily manageable way. Um, Technology has changed accounting massively, as everybody's going to acknowledge this,
Yeah.
over the last few years, and we've really embraced that as a practice. We only work with cloud accounting systems like Xero and Free Agent. And for our property portfolios, um, we've got a system called Hammock. These systems are like they're specifically designed for these types of businesses. So for us, technology, it wasn't just about bookkeeping and
Mm.
efficiency. It's about giving business owners sort of better visibility, better forecasting, um, better insights into how their business are performing. But honestly, the thing I probably enjoy most is helping business owners reduce all the stress and gain some kind of clarity over their accounts.
Mm.
Most people, I'm sure you acknowledge this, most people don't start business because they enjoy doing tax returns and spreadsheets. They start because they're particularly good at something. They're good at building walls, they're a good bricklayer, or they're a good carpenter.
Mm.
And I just enjoy helping them understand the financial side, trying to keep it in plain English without all the normal accountancy speak. So they can just focus then on growing their business. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's where I am. That's where we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, as a business owner myself, I can relate to this idea that I yeah, I'm not really great with figures. I'm not great with numbers. Um, and and the whole I remember when I first started my business, I was just self-employed, it's a long time ago. I just remember dreading, the tax return
Yeah,
process, the whole thing of kind of doing the forms. I just absolutely hated it. And I mean, at the time, it was fairly simple. It wasn't because it was just me, it was just me, one man band, pretty, you know, pretty straightforward stuff. But I still dreaded it, and I still felt like it was just this massive, massive burden. And I would
yeah,
put it off
yeah.
as long as possible. I'm sure you get loads of people like that who
Yeah,
come to
that,
you.
that that's typical. That's typical of a lot of small businesses. They're good at what they're doing,
Yeah.
but and then they put it off all the time and put it off, and then they start incurring penalties. And I can understand why they do put it off. I mean, I put some
Mm.
things off I don't like doing myself, and
Yeah.
it's always last minute. So I completely get that. I understand why they're doing it. Yeah,
Yeah. But it's really important, isn't it? It's really important that you're on
it
top of
is
this stuff
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Well,
because
it's but this law.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, what are the consequences? I mean, maybe this is an obvious question, but what are the consequences of basically just burying your head in the sand and just ignoring, all the accountancy stuff?
Well, yeah, the I suppose the initial thing is it goes for everybody across the board is the penalties. I mean, if you don't submit a tax return by the deadline, yeah, if you're 1 minute late, that's £100 fine.
Yeah.
And then further down, if you're 3 months late, then it goes into it's £10 per day for 30 days. So that's another £300.
Yeah.
And then it snowballs then all the time. And if you owe money, then you're getting interest payments on that as well. And believe
Right.
HMRC will come after you.
They'll
They
chase you.
absolutely will.
Yeah.
And I've seen I've had one client who hadn't done their tax return for 10 years.
10 years.
10 years, and HMRC went back across it. They had to sell their house to pay everything they owed. And then they had
Wow.
to go back over there and they start to submit their tax returns. So they start to submit 10 tax returns.
Hmm.
And because that wasn't accurate then, HMRC would estimate what it would be. So it could well have been, they could be well have been paying a lot more than what
Than
they
they had
would
to.
if they paid their tax in time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it can really escalate and get out of hand.
Yeah. But it's not just a financial kind of consequence, is it? There's other things that, if you don't do your accounting, if you're not looking at your figures regularly, there's other
Yeah.
stuff that you can sort of, fall foul of, isn't there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, okay, it's like how can you run your business. A lot of people try to run their business by looking at their bank account. If they've got money in their bank account, then oh, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Business is doing great. But there's so much more to it than that. And if you get the right systems in place and you start planning ahead, then your business is going to grow.
Hmm.
People who try to run their business by looking at their bank account, I most of those are really small businesses who are just doing it to get a paycheck from month to month and from week to week, which I absolutely get that.
Mm.
But there are other businesses in it who need to grow. They just need to have the discipline and the systems in place and the support from accountants, and other business professionals. Don't try and do it all yourself. Don't bury your head in the sand.
Yeah.
You need help.
Yeah. And I suppose it it is important to be able to look back and be able to see kind of where you've come from. Then that can inform how you go forward, can't it? And also, I'm sure, by kind of keeping on top of the kind of numbers and the figures and stuff, I don't know, there may be stuff that comes out that you go, oh, I didn't realize, you know, there may be something there that you hadn't wouldn't necessarily have spotted. Do you know what I mean? There might be
Oh
something,
yeah, yeah.
you know, that sort of pops up and is like either you're paying for something that you don't need or you don't want, or
Well,
there's
yeah.
a missing invoice or something.
And there's the missing tax opportunities, tax planning opportunities.
Hmm.
I mean, rather than just paying the standard amount, the basic standard amount, if you could plan your tax, plan it in advance, then you can really cut down the amount of tax you're paying.
Yeah.
And especially when you want to go, if small businesses want to go for loans, for a mortgage or to buy a car or for anything, anybody, all the lenders, investors are going to need to see some kind of accounts.
Yeah, they
And
want
if
your
people,
history. Yeah.
they want your history. And if you
Mm.
haven't got nothing that shows how much tax you've been paying, one of the best ways of looking at how profitable a business is, or how good a business is, how um, attractive a business is for lenders, is by looking at how much tax they've paid. The more tax you've paid, then the more you're going to attract investors. Investors like that, because
Oh,
that
okay.
means you've had you've had good profits.
Yeah.
If you've had good profits, you pay tax.
Yeah.
So you can't pay no tax and then expect to go for a loan for or a mortgage or anything like that. That just doesn't work, because that means if you haven't paid any tax, then you can have earned profit.
Yeah.
And if you haven't got profit, then how can you afford a mortgage?
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about credibility, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely, yeah,
trust.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm interested in the side of your business which focuses on the kind of the environmental side of things. Where did that, you said you started quite a long time ago, but where did that come from? And, what made you kind of want to sort of focus on that?
Well, there was a big gap in the market for that,
Mm.
um, especially with the bigger companies. I got part um, into that sort of side of things, into the carbon accounting when I was with Costain, and all the small subcontractors who were working for Costain, they had to show that they were measuring their carbon footprint.
Mm.
So part of that, they couldn't work with Costain unless they had, and they were doing carbon counting.
Right.
If they sort of came on board or they were willing to do it, then we would help them to get in that situation. And then when you got your carbon accounting, when you got your figures in front of you, then they could bid for all the big jobs then, which Costain, because as the main contractor, they were offering out. So that was essential. And even now, things like the NHS, you can't, contractors working on any NHS site, they won't get even considered for a subcontractor job unless they've got some kind of carbon accounting credentials.
Mm.
So there's nobody did that. There was very few businesses that had all that. And I think as accountants, we are perfectly placed to offer that type of to offer that service, to do all the carbon accounting. We've already got all the financial stuff.
Yeah.
So put in the carbon accounting with that, then that was that just naturally sort of flowed on. And I identified that, and then it makes us a bit different from every other accountancy practice. Every other accountancy practice does tax returns, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, at the end of the year. But there wasn't any that was doing the carbon accounting.
So
And
what
I thought
does
that was a big niche, a good niche.
yeah. So what does carbon accounting actually involve? Like
Is
what are you measuring and how do you work it all out?
Well, it's different ways of measuring how much CO2 basically your business generates,
Yeah.
and you can either do it. There's different standards you can measure them by, and one of the easiest and one of the most acceptable is by how much cost. So how much cost you spent, how much money you spent on say fuel for especially in construction industry, or fuel for all
Mm.
your plant and machinery. From the cost, you can extrapolate how much um, fuel you've used, and how
Yeah.
much fuel you've used. Then you can
How much
work out how
CO2?
much CO2 is.
Yeah,
But it
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
always go for fuel. It goes so you might be using gas, wood, how much wood you're using in building something, building
Mm.
flats or into internal buildings, how much concrete you're using, all that as a cost, and from the cost you can extrapolate the CO2 the CO2 that you're using,
Yeah, yeah,
and that's how we can work out. Then you've got a CO2 footprint.
yeah. And do you help businesses to kind of reduce that footprint? Are you able to
Uh,
kind of sorry?
Once you
Yeah.
start measuring it, once you start measuring how much what your CO2 levels, then you can start controlling it.
Right.
And even though we're not um, we're carbon accountants, but we're not trained to sort of go into a business and say this is what you need to do to reduce your carbon
Right.
footprint.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
just measure what's there. But once you measure what's there, then you can control it. Then you get professionals in then who come into your workplace, and we work alongside these people.
Yeah. So
Then they can,
they know what is using the most CO2
yeah,
and they can
exactly,
say, okay, well,
and
how can we reduce that? How can we change that?
exactly
Yeah.
that. They can advise on alternative sources of energy. They can advise on alternate building materials. Is it coming from sustainable suppliers? They can advise all on that then, which then obviously you can start controlling your carbon footprint.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
obviously, you try to reduce it, but it's not necessarily about um, the company with the least carbon footprints gets a job or wins the bid. It's the
Mm.
fact that you're measuring it,
Yeah.
and because you're
Yeah.
measuring it, then you can control it.
Yeah.
So the important thing is measuring it. And that inevitably then, a lot of people say, well, carbon accounting is going to cost us a lot of money. The idea is that it's going to save you money
Mm.
rather than cost you money.
Yeah.
And it does impact on your bottom line.
Does
I
it?
mean, it's
Yeah.
things like turning your lights out and, using cheaper materials. Some materials that you use will naturally be more expensive, but then you can expect if you got like Costain measure their carbon accounting, so they would when they put their bids in to like the Welsh government or anything like that, they would charge a little bit more because they're using more sustainable materials.
Mm.
So it does impact on your bottom line.
Yeah, yeah. So they wouldn't be losing out, because yeah, sometimes the more environmentally friendly option is more expensive, isn't it? But if they can account for that, and if they can say,
Yeah,
if you want a more environmentally friendly solution, it's going to cost extra. So at least the contractor isn't, they're not kind of out of pocket, as it were.
of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And do you have so it's do you have any kind of insight into perhaps where things are going and because obviously like construction, for example, I know that that's sort of one area that you kind of or those you have a lot of clients in that area, don't you? And um,
yeah. That's
construction
our
is
niche sort of area.
yeah, construction is very energy intensive, isn't it?
Yeah,
Um, and
immensely. Yeah.
probably yeah one of the sort of bigger sectors that are sort of impact the environment. But yeah, what do you think is the future in that? sector, you know, in terms of construction and the environment. Can you sort of see where things are going?
Well, you know, the whole I think the whole world is in turmoil at the moment about
Mm,
gas prices and fuel prices.
yeah,
But go, going back to the basic, people are always going to need new roads are building all the time.
yeah,
You know, there's always a marketplace for, you know, filling in holes in the roads and potholes. Um, and there's innovation comes into that, look, you know, quite substantially as well. Is
mm,
they're trying to look for different types of materials now to fill in the holes, to do all the potholes, and stuff that doesn't gonna wear so quickly. So there's different surfaces that are being there's constantly be trying to improve on,
yeah,
and making those more sustainable. And I know that, you know, there's lots of shouting about, perhaps we should go back to using fossil fuels, because we've got the North Sea that's a bit of a gold mine, I suppose. And with them closing off the Straits of Hormuz, um, then fuel prices are being shot up. So we should then look to go more fossil fuels, using our own fossil fuels in the North Sea. And I get that. I get that. But there's always going to be a place for sustainable materials and the
mm,
use of sustainable materials, and constantly innovating to improve on those materials, even and the systems and the processes that we use to, you know, to build better roads, build more sustainable roads, and more sustainable buildings. You know, that's always going to it is always going to be a lot a lot cheaper in the long run.
yeah,
You know, you look places like Norway and Sweden, they've really embraced sustainability,
mm,
and, you know, through wind and solar, and you know, they're not as badly impacted by,
mm,
you know, current affairs as what we are.
yeah,
Um, so, you know, innovation is a big thing into that as well.
yeah. I think that's the thing, isn't it? That you know, there are innovations are sort of they're constantly being made in this area,
Yeah, yeah,
and
you've got to.
they will just get cheaper and cheaper, and it would just be a no-brainer to kind of use, like, because I know like solar panels, like the price of solar panels have absolutely plummeted over the last
Yeah,
10 years or so.
yeah,
um and they're just getting so cheap to make that it just makes a lot of sense just to use solar panels, and obviously you need batteries to kind of back them up, but you know,
yeah, yeah.
and they're kind of figuring out ways to, you know, to make them without, like, you know, sort of the nastier chemicals or minerals and stuff, you know,
Exactly. Yeah,
aren't they? They're kind of figuring out cleaner ways of even doing that. So
yeah.
yeah, it's interesting that you know that's happening, isn't it? Yeah.
And that's a big thing for innovators now, and that's why, and there's lots of tax breaks
Mm.
for doing things like that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. So how long have you run Capo Digital Accounting? How long have you been doing that now?
we started Capo just after, well, it was just before we all went into lockdown.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
when we started it, we didn't know lockdown was coming up.
Mm.
So it was late 2019. I think it was November 2019.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think lockdown or the COVID started at about November, December 2019, something like that. It was first sort of come on the horizon.
Yeah.
So we started. We had our own offices over in the Rhondda. And we were working fine from there. Everything was, it was just starting off in business, so that was great. Then COVID happened, so it was a case of, right, shut the offices, everybody's working from home,
Mm.
and that was, I know as a lot of people suffered through COVID, and it was a terrible thing. But we actually, our practice grew immensely
Mm.
during COVID, and
You
there was
still
an
need
opportunity there.
accountants.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah,
still need
absolutely,
accountants.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and from work we had to, because we had to work from home, we had to adapt to working from home. That's when all things like Zoom and Microsoft Teams came on the scene. So it probably wouldn't have been something that we would have consciously gone into ourselves, but we were and it's the same with everybody, I suppose. We were forced to go into change our ways of working.
Yeah.
And
So
we
so
were
you
we
didn't you didn't really start with a sort of digital angle straight away. Is that right? Is it as in
we
the kind
had
of the online stuff that came later? Is that right? Or
yeah, but we was a tradition. We had we was I suppose we was a traditional sort of accountancy practice to start off with.
yeah.
Um, but we were even back in the early 2012, 2011 when I was in a different practice. We was embracing digitization then. I mean, all our systems then we had um, uh, digital cloud accounting systems back then. They weren't as good as what they are today, and there was
Mm,
only two or three products on the market then. And whereas now we got things like Zero and Free Agent, where you got the banks automatically connected to this, so you just download your statements automatically.
mm,
That didn't happen back then. That was a case of uploading statements into the software and then doing the bookkeeping from then. So
yeah.
we did have digitization back in the early 2012, 2011,
Mm,
but nothing to the standard it is now. And we were quite restricted as well to working just in South Wales, in our own locality.
yeah.
Of course, then when we were forced to work from home, it and we didn't plan on this. It opened up our scope, and so
The whole of
because
the
we could then
country.
work with the whole country,
Yeah.
and we even went after COVID. We went international.
Oh,
We had
right.
clients in Dubai. We had a couple of clients in Jakarta, and they were mainly because they had property businesses in the UK.
Right. Yeah.
So their property business was subject to UK tax rules. Um, but our clients were out in Jakarta, and we would have regular meetings with them over Zoom.
Yeah.
So
Which you couldn't,
even now we
you wouldn't have done before COVID, really,
no
or wouldn't
way,
have thought
no,
of it.
no,
No.
no, no,
Crazy,
never.
isn't it? Yeah.
Even now we've got a lot of our clients are London based
Mm,
because we don't have the overheads which London practices have, and we've got some in Aberdeen. Yeah, so it's really opened. We're no longer specifically based in South Wales, although that's where the majority of our client base is, and I like that.
mm.
But it doesn't restrict us.
No. No, no. I do have like I guess the old fashioned image of an accountant's office
Yeah.
is just paper everywhere, just files and files. I guess you don't have that, do you?
Well, I've got lots of paper on my desk, but that's mainly because I'm untidy. But we no we don't have. I haven't got boxes or racks of paper now.
Hmm.
We don't tend to work with businesses who who
Which is
aren't
paper
willing to
based.
go, yeah, who are just
Yeah.
paper based. I mean, even HMRC, the tax rules and everything now, it's just not there for anybody who wants to continue using paper records. You have with MTD, then you have to be digitized. You have to use some kind of a digitization and to store all your records and to make to get your tax returns done. So we're always helping our new clients to become digital.
Hmm.
Um, and some clients, don't want to do that, and I completely get that, and that's absolutely fine. And there's still accountants out there who will happily work with clients and they will digitize all the information for them. We tend to leave them have the lion's share of those. If there's somebody who wants to go digital, absolutely.
Hmm.
We're there, we'll help and support them to do that. But otherwise, we only work with companies that who also embrace digitization.
Yeah, yeah. So, Carl, you mentioned MTD just now. Can you just explain to the audience what is that, and how is that, why is it important for people to be aware of it?
Making tax MTD is making tax digital. This is a initiative, a movement by HMRC, and what they try to do is to get everybody onto a digital platform. This is to sort of help them more than anything else. HMRC have been going through uh, getting all their systems up to date, getting their systems all digitized. Because before, you had different departments within HMRC. They didn't talk to each other. The corporation tax people didn't talk to the income tax people, and the capital gains tax people didn't talk to the inheritance tax people.
Mm.
And now they've bringing it all in to one big system. And to do that, they need everybody to be digitized. So
Mm.
this is the first step was the VAT. VAT went. It was VAT for making tax digital came in the early 2020s. I think it's 21, 22 perhaps. Don't quote me on
Mm.
that.
Mm.
But now this is the second, and this is like the biggest step so far. This is all about income tax. So this is making tax digital for income tax. And the people that fall into that are self-employed people um, and people who have income from property. So if you're employed, then you're not subject to MTD. If you're self-employed and you have income coming in from a trade or you provide a service there and you got income or you got income from property, then you fall into the MTD bracket.
Mm.
This is the first stage of three stages HMRC are bringing in, and this one is particularly aimed at businesses who have income over 50,000, £50,000, £50,000 a year.
Mm.
So if you fall into that bracket, then your MTD kicks in from the 1st of April this year, 2026. So your
Mm.
first return will be submitted in by the April, May, June, July. So it'll be the 7th of August. And then you have to do
Mm.
quarterly returns up until the end of the year. Then you have to do a return then with um, the quarterly returns are just your income and your expenses. That's all just two figures, income and expenses.
Mm.
And then at the end of the year, then you do another return, which sort of ties everything together. And then you have to submit your tax return as well.
Right,
So
right.
that is basically MTD.
Yeah.
Like I said, the first stage is £50,000. You turn over 50,000. Next year, so 28 is going to be £30,000, and then the limit is going to be £20,000, which brings an awful lot more
Most
businesses
business. Yeah.
into MTD then, yeah.
Yeah. Mm, okay.
So
So,
that is MTD.
so if anyone listening or watching hasn't done that yet, and they're, in that threshold, then they should get on with it, shouldn't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They can do it themselves.
Right.
A lot of people have problems with doing that, and they tend to go for look for accountants or bookkeepers to help them do that.
Yeah.
But if however you're going to do it, you need to be aware of it and you start planning for it.
Yeah. 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 In light of our previous conversation about, the consequences of ignoring, you know, your tax
Yeah, yeah,
obligations and all that.
because this is quite new, HMRC are quite lenient, are going to
Yeah.
be quite lenient with it.
Mm.
But if you don't get in with you start doing MTD, then eventually HMRC are going to start fining,
Yeah.
and then it's going down the same road again then.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the biggest, or what are the biggest lessons that you've learned from running your business?
Good one. I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned is running a business as much as about is as much about people and communication as it is about your sort of technical ability.
Okay.
Early on, you tend to focus early on in your business when you start your business going, you tend to focus heavily on doing the work and doing the work well. And obviously that's important. But over time, you kind of realize responsiveness, trust and relationships are just as valuable. Um, Clients want to feel supported and understood, not just receive a set of accounts, once a year at the end of the year. Um, Another big lesson for me as well has been the importance of systems and processes. When you first start in business, you can get away with keeping lots of things, remembering things in your head. But as your business grows, that becomes really difficult and it's just inefficient. I used to forget things all the time. I had to keep consciously writing them down or have a system for remembering things. Um, Now we start like, putting proper systems and workflows in place, and that has been hugely important for sort of consistency and making my life easier, reducing my stress, and everybody else in the practice as well. I've also learned that technology can make a massive difference, but only if people are willing to embrace it properly.
Yeah.
We touched on cloud accounting before. That has transformed the way we work, and the visibility clients have over their businesses, but it only works well when both sides sort of commit to using it consistently. It's, if we're using it, then the clients have to embrace that as well.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest lesson of all, though, is that most business owners don't really want complicated financial language when we're doing their accounts. They want they want clarity more than anything. Um, they want someone who can explain things in plain English without all the accountancy speak, which I was always guilty of myself. But now I make sort of conscious effort to try to explain it in plain English. Uh, then they can make sort of good decisions without them feeling overwhelmed or anything. I, I think that's something I've become more aware of over time, and it's something you can only learn really by spending time and through experience. So they were the biggest lessons I think that I've learned
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
business. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's gone well for the business? You mentioned, I mean, in some ways, the whole COVID thing actually benefited you, well, that situation anyway. But what else has gone well for you as a business?
Yeah, the COVID one was a big one. Um, and that was I suppose one of the things that we built up during COVID was the relationships that we had with our clients. A lot of our clients have stayed with us um, since COVID. They stayed with us now from years since then. They're still with us now, and I think that comes from generally trying to support people rather than just treating it as a transactional service. And during COVID, we had to do that. People were in a mess; they didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Um, and when you work closely with business owners over a long period of time, you naturally become invested in seeing them succeed. And we still do that. We still embrace that now. Um, I'm also really pleased with how we've embraced technology as a practice. We had to do that during COVID, and we're doing it now just as a follow on. I'm sure everybody's aware that all industries, and especially the accounting industry, has changed massively over the last few years. And we've made a conscious decision, really, um, and we wanted to be more forward thinking rather than stuck in the old ways of working. And using systems like Zero, Free Agent, Amic, as I mentioned before, those type of systems have really allowed us to work much more proactively with our clients. It is giving them better visibility over their businesses. I'd also say that finding our niche within construction. Construction industry came natural to me because that's where I had all my initial experience. That's where I was brought into accounting. Um, but also like trades and property businesses. We've worked with them really well because it aligns naturally with the background that I've had through construction. And I genuinely understand a lot of the challenges those industries face, working with the subcontractors, working with the big contractors and the subcontractors. And their biggest challenges are all around cash flow, forecasting, and just planning ahead. That is so important.
Yeah, yeah,
And probably the thing I'm most proud of overall um, is building a business that reflects the type of practice I would want to deal with myself. Um, just being approachable, straightforward, supportive, and just focused on people rather than just ticking the compliance box all the time. So that's what's gone really well for us.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that's good. And what's gone badly? What's
Uh,
gone not so well? I'm sure something. Yeah, I'm sure that's something we've all experienced. But what about
yeah, and
yourself?
well, when we first started off business, and this is going to resonate with a lot of small businesses. One of the biggest challenges is when you first start running a business on your own, uh, is trying to do everything yourself.
Mm,
And we were guilty of that. A lot of business owners, especially early on when they first start off, I probably spent too much time trying to wear every hat, doing all the technical work, handling all the admin, chasing information, dealing with different systems, managing clients, uh, and eventually, you just realize that you can't keep going like that.
mm,
You just run out of steam. I was working every weekend. I was working till silly hours in the evenings. January, when you come to the tax year end, uh, that was just I'd never had a weekend off for about 5 or 6 weeks.
yeah,
It was a nightmare. Christmas, I remember working. I'd have Christmas Day off and work in between Christmas and New Year, just getting there because I knew that come the deadline, you have to get everything done by the deadline. Otherwise, people are going to pay again. They're going to be
yeah.
paying stupid amount of tax.
And everyone leaves it to the
Um,
last minute, don't they? I
yeah,
just,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
There have definitely been sort of periods of stress running a business carries a lot of responsibility because clients, like I said, clients rely on you.
Mm,
Deadlines don't stop, and you're also responsible for your team and maintaining all the standards of the team as well.
yeah, yeah.
But honestly, I think most most difficult moments end up teaching you something valuable. If I
Mm,
hadn't gone through all that stress, then I obviously learned by that. And
mm,
I can sort of apply that now to when dealing with my clients. I know what they're going through and being there, done that. So
mm.
I can sort of resonate, so I can fully understand what they're going through.
Yeah, yeah. And related to that, have you faced any kind of barriers or obstacles during your time running your business? And what have you done to overcome those?
I think the biggest challenges was probably for me personally, um, was a transition from because I served in the Royal Navy, so from
Mm,
moving from military life into civilian business, and then eventually into running my own practice. That was quite challenging. Yeah,
mm,
I spent 24 years in the Navy, and you become used to structure, to systems. We had a clear chain of command, and then
yeah,
moving into the commercial world, into the real world, is a very different
it's not like
environment.
that. Yeah,
No,
yeah,
and it's definitely there's an adjustment period where you really you're rebuilding your identity and you're learning how things work in a completely different setting.
mm,
Um, and then when I started Capo, I think one of the biggest barriers then was simply reality of building a business from scratch. When people look at a business from the outside, they only see the finished product. They don't see the uncertainty, the long hours,
Yeah.
the pressure that comes with trying to grow something, while you're sort of also trying to maintain all the high standards. The accounting industry itself has changed massively over the years.
Mm.
I mean, it changes every year. There's regulations, they change consistently. Technology, that's always evolving. We've got chat GPT and AI now.
All
Uh,
right.
and client expectations are much higher than they used to be. So we constantly need to adapt. We need to learn more. Um, uh, we need to improve rather than just sort of standing still all the time. There's no room for that anymore.
No.
And I
No.
think the another challenge for me personally was learning to step back occasionally and not to try to carry, not to try to do everything myself. Sure, you appreciate, like any other business owner, you naturally feel responsible for everything. It's all on me. There's clients, the deadlines, the team, the quality of all your work, and then over time you realize how important it is to build support systems, um, and to get in people you trust and get the right type of people around you.
Yeah.
I think every challenge is going to teach you something. Um, Most of the barriers we've probably have made me more resilient, made me a bit more adaptable, and better at understanding uh, the pressures which the business people just sort of face on a day to day.
Mm.
That was the biggest barrier for me, um, in coming into the into where to get where I am now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds like you've been very successful in what you've been doing, and uh, you've kind of embraced the digital side of things, and
Mm.
you found your niche in a sense. But have you ever got to a point where perhaps you just thought, I've had enough of this. I just want to go and
Oh,
work,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, for a salary job somewhere, work for someone else, and not have to deal with all this stuff. Have you ever has that ever crossed your mind?
Yeah, I think every business owner been through that.
Mm,
Um, they'd be lying if they say they never had moments where they'd question things. Yeah, running a business is incredibly rewarding,
mm,
but it can be mentally exhausting as well. There's times because there's always responsible some kind of responsibility sitting in the background. There's always another deadline or something.
yeah,
There are definitely periods, where the pressure builds up, deadlines, client responsibilities, there's constant changes in legislation, um, trying to grow your business while still maintaining sort of high quality service levels. And every business will know when you run your own business, it's very difficult to sort of completely switch off,
mm,
um, because we care about it all the time. We're invested in it.
mm,
Um, and I think one of the hardest parts is that, as business owners, you often carry the responsibility quietly. You keep it locked up.
yeah,
Um, Clients are relying on you, and your teams rely on you, and you still have to show up with a positive attitude every
mm,
day, even when things are difficult. Behind the scenes, you still have to give that strong. You have to be the backbone of everything. Um, but I've never seriously wanted to walk away from it,
right,
um, because I generally enjoy it. I know I
yeah,
know that's sad, but I do generally enjoy it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
When a client tells you they finally feel in control of their finances because we've given them clarity, we know what they're doing, they're sleeping better, um, because they understand where the business is headed now, then that is incredibly rewarding.
oh, I can
Um,
imagine, yeah, yeah,
yeah. I also think my background in the Navy as well helped sort of shape my mindset quite a lot.
yeah,
Uh, I learned when I was in the Navy, I learned, resilience,
mm,
discipline, obviously. Uh, the importance of sort of staying calm under pressure.
Yeah.
And I think all those lessons have definitely helped me during all the difficult periods and the stress periods
Yeah.
of business. And having people around you makes a huge difference too. Um, I've got two people in our, there's not just me in the business, it's Crystal and Rachel, and they've been a really important part of the business.
Mm.
And just having them as a supportive, somebody supporting you around you, it keeps you in perspective sometimes, and you just keep moving forward. Like when I'm feeling exhausted, or when I'm taking a big sigh and when oh God, where do we go from here? Then they can push you as well. They push me as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So that having the people around you as well is incredibly supportive.
Yeah. 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 So what are your kind of future plans? How do you see things panning out for you in the next few years? What are your sort of ambitions?
I've got goals on I want what type of um how many clients I want, or how much turnover we want to reach. But I suppose what I'm really after is I don't want millions of clients, because I can't give that personal one-to-one service then.
Yeah.
I want a niche of clients, a small whack of clients that I can then give, more the personal touch, the more one-to-one. That's what
Mm.
I get a kick out of most.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and get the right type of clients who want the services which we are offering. We do all the normal stuff, as I said at the beginning, but it's
Mm.
having that is the ones that listen to you when you're giving advice. They like the tax advice. They likes the fact that we're looking ahead when we're doing their accounts. We're looking to see where they're going to be in
Mm.
6 months, in 10 months, in a year's time. So and helping them plan for it. That's the type of clients that we like working with, and
Yeah.
that's where I want. So in 5 years' time, I want just a small bundle of clients who are really sort of focused on moving forward with their businesses.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
at the moment, all our clients are great at the moment. But some are coming in and some are leaving. Some of businesses closing down because they've come to the end of their natural life,
Mm.
which is great, and we've sort of enjoyed working with all those businesses. But my goal, I suppose, um, in 5 years' time, is to make sure that I've got a succession planning. I've got somebody who is going to be taking over from me, so that the business continues. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm not going to be in this business for in 20 years' time,
Yeah.
and I want to get to a position where Rachel and Crystal now they can take it forward,
Yeah.
and we will reach that because they're doing fantastically already.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I mean, it must be enormously satisfying to have built something like what you've created, um, but also then to be able to pass it on and know that it's in safe hands.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Once you step back. But yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, Carl, it's been really great talking to you. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of our time, but I really appreciate your time, and it's been really interesting talking to you.
I've loved every minute. It's been really good.
Oh, good.
Just talking, it's made me realize, my God, I've got a good business here, and it is going well. And I don't suppose you realize until you start thinking about it, you just take it for granted, don't you? You just sort of
Yeah,
plod on from day to day, and then when you think about it, yeah, it's been really good. Really,
yeah.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Great. Well, thank you for all that you shared, and yeah, I'm sure I will see you again soon. But thanks very much, Carl Postians. You've been a great guest, and yeah, all the best for your business. Take care.
Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed it.
You've been listening to the Better Business Podcast, brought to you by Farsight Films and Utility Warehouse. Farsight Films creates memorable video content for your business that helps you stand out and get noticed. Get in touch now to find out how Farsight can help boost your video marketing strategy today. Utility Warehouse is an award-winning provider of comprehensive utility services that bundles all your utilities into one, helping you to save money. Get in touch for a no-obligation 15-minute consultation that could bring you significant annual savings. Check out the QR codes on screen or click the links in the description to find out more. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. All the best, and keep building a better business.